Tony, you've come from the construction sector originally. The plastering business, I believe you employed a team of 8 people back in the late 90s. Good old days. There must have been a massive challenge in picking yourself up from that and moving on.
It was very tough for the first couple of years. It was up to about 2005, and about 8, I think, maybe 10 one time. But I got very bad for about 2 years, I'd say. But I don't know, I just came across this by the way this happened to me. It was just pure luck. I love cooking, and my chopping board broke, and I just couldn't get a good quality one, something that was unique, that different, like. So I just sourced out wood from Dublin, 2 brothers above in Dublin, and I made a couple of them, and I showed them to people. They loved them, like. So I said I wanted something here. So I made up 20 more then. So what I done was I branded them and packaged them, and I took photos and made an album out of them. So I brought them into a local shop, Seán utensils. So he looked at them, he loved them, like. So I said, I'll take the last. So he wrote a cheque for, I think it was €8,000. And I must have stocked him 20, 30 times since, like.
So are you saying, did the business come around by accident?
Pure
really?
accident, yeah. Just pure luck.
Okay. Yeah,
but they're lovely products now, but I just took off them from there, and Mark Doe then, he's a local cookery school. He took a lot of them, then they just spread, and we're supplying the biggest hotels in Ireland now, and some hotels in Dubai, and it just took off, like, it's unreal.
The product reached some significant attention in the late. You did a presentation there a number of months ago.
That's right.
How are you coping with the demand, or how have things moved on from there?
We got an awful lot of investors after that. Big investors want to invest in the company, like, but I just wasn't ready. We were only maybe 3 months into the ID that time, so it was all new to me. Like, I was still very nervous, you know. So I started up a new business, but I turned them down, a lot of them. I just wanted to feel my way first. This is different from the construction thing, you know. So I kind of done it myself, a lot of it on my own, slowly but surely, you know. And it's just taken off. We're moving into new premises now, moving to Valley. They're actually up to the moment making a big lot of them for. We just signed up with Fab.com in Germany, so they reckon they could sell 20,000 of the products like a year. So
is that an online sales?
Yeah, they're real funky kind of stuff. Like, they're in talks the last 6 weeks for us, but I wasn't ready to go at the start. But we're at to sign up with them now. And there's a batch actually going out now, and we have 1,000 units going out to them at the end of the month.
And what are the challenges? I suppose we're talking about growing one's business here today. What are the challenges in growing that business? How are you supporting it? How are you financing it?
I sold my house, and I pumped a lot of the money I made out into it. It's tough, like, but I don't know, if you've love and passion for what you're doing, you know, I love making them, and I said, if you haven't got passion for something at the very start, you know, you'll meet challenges. I met them, but it was the love of making them, you know, that's keeping me going. But we turned the corner now, and thank God it's going well. And we're talking with a distributor in America. It's very interesting as well, like, so.
David, tell me about yourself and what drives you, and were you absolutely mad to start a business in a recession?
Yeah, well, I suppose a lot of people would say you are mad starting a business in a recession, but in reality, if I started my business in the boom, it wouldn't have worked. So I just started at the right time. So I was coming from the furniture industry, which is so reliant on the construction, and it's just you're bidding and bidding for work, and companies were falling by the wayside. And I suppose in hindsight, it's great to look back, and I link back still with all my contacts in that industry, and I see what happened. And the companies that are still alive today, they would have evolved and changed, and they're in different markets now, or they would have spent a lot on advertising. So I spoke to a company last week, they're in Loud, and they spend 10 grand a month on advertising, and they said their business would be dead if they didn't do that. Okay. But I suppose way back in 08, 09, if we had spent that kind of money in advertising, it would have been a huge risk. So myself, I decided to go back to college, and I took the less riskier route, and luckily enough, I stumbled across an ID. And
in terms of finance, again, how are you financing the business? How are you driving the business?
Well, I suppose at the start, a lot of it would have been very on a shoestring. So using as much resources as I had myself. As I said, the construction and furniture was good to me in the boom times, so I had a bit of money to put in myself. Yourself and the Kerry Enterprise Board were very good as well in terms of getting me started. So that was 2011. So it was, it's been a long road now since, but the funding was very helpful to start from the enterprise board. That was really what kicked it off.
Flattery is wonderful. I suppose the question that's often raised, I suppose, is looking at funding or advice. And, you know, I suppose we'd often see people approach us in the first instance looking for funding. But what are your feelings on that, or what would be your opinions, both of you? Like you're going into perhaps areas you haven't worked in previously. This is a new challenge. Obviously, funding is important. What about advice? Or where do you get your advice?
Like the funding is important. It's very, very important. You're not going to do anything unless you have funding. But as advice, I'd say more help more than advice. You stop someone in the street and ask them for advice, I'll give it to you. I think help, if somebody helps you and they put their hand out and say, look, I need help here, can you put me in contact with somebody? It's that kind of help that you need as well with the funding. So it's very, very important. And
yeah, the mentor I got as well from Enterprise, and the McNulty, she was brilliant, like.
Okay.
Oh, she was brilliant, yeah. Because it was all new to me to start, and she was...
On the marketing side.
Yeah, brilliant.